back, everyone. Glad to be joined by Laconia Coach McDonough here. Coach, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure. I think it's great work that you've been doing. I love listening to the other coaches that have been on, and I'm happy to sit down and talk with you.
Great. So let's get right into it. Just kind of a brief recap of where your program was at last year and how things concluded for you.
Yeah, so last year was a tough year for us. We had a really good run in Division Two. It was kind of, one of the smaller schools in like 2020, 2021, 22, even 23. And then, sort of that group of kids had graduated out. And we had a lot of young kids that we were trying to bring up to speed last year. We sophomore heavy team. And I think we ended up 4-14 or 5-14. We won a game or two in our holiday tournament, and we were competitive in a lot of games, but we just, we showed our youth at a lot of times, and we had some, unfortunate injuries over the course of the season that sort of changed, how we had to do things. So, it definitely not the way we wanted it to end last year. We've been in the playoffs, had a good run of playoff teams, and sort of top 8 home playoff teams. So I know our seniors last year were a little bummed to have it go like that. But, the flip side is that group of sophomores that we played a lot last year got a lot of experience. And, now we're leaning on them a little harder this year because they're all juniors. So, there's a give and a take to it for sure.
Anything with your off-season program, whether it was like a summer league or some work in the fall that you said, okay, we got to put in a couple things here to improve and build off of last season?
Yeah, it's a great question because, I had kind of alluded to, we've really embraced in Division Two, being kind of the little school. And sort of punching up. And with that, there comes some things that we don't do that a lot of other schools are able to do, like a fall league, get out and play in a fall league. And, I look around my gym right now and every single varsity kid that I have is a fall athlete. And whether it's football, golf, soccer, they're all doing something in the fall. And, in Laconia, I coach multiple sports, so we really embrace the multi-sport athlete. So in the fall, really all we do is we have an open gym, schedule on Sundays, come and get shots up, but your priority needs to be with your fall team. And our football team had a great fall season, lost in the state championship game, but really it got back to the, sort of smash mouth Sachem football. So we wanted those kids really focus on that. But we have a summer league, and we've run it here for, I honestly don't know how many years. I think I've made up a number to put on the trophy that we give out at the end of the summer. And I think I said this was our 10th or 11th year. But in all honesty, I'm not quite sure how many years we've done it. But yeah, we host a summer league here. We get 8 teams, including ourselves. We play Monday, Wednesday nights, and get the teams in. And it's a lot of the Lakes region sort of stalwarts, Guilford, Winnisquam, Belmont. They've all been in it since like day one when I started it, however many years ago. And then we've had teams like Interlakes that have been in it and left and been in it. Pembroke was in it for a few years. We have Kennett in our summer league. So we sort of get a few teams to rotate as well. So we're busy in the summer, but come fall, I really like to push our kids, be multi-sport athletes, go be a Sachem, but your priority should be to your fall sport. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. One of those kids goes and plays a fall league game on Saturday or Sunday. They hurt their ankle and they can't play in the football championship, sort of the makeup of our group.
Gotcha. I was able to watch one of the Laconia games this year. I think they were either at Newport or Kearsarge. I'm pretty sure it was at Kearsarge. I had them and I was doing their game and they looked pretty sharp. I remember that. Pretty strong group there. So now kind of when you dive into the basketball aspect, when you look at what you had last year and then what you had this year, kind of what were your expectations that you laid out for your group at the start of the season? What did you aim to accomplish as a reasonable goal?
Well, for me as a coach first, it's looking at some of the things I didn't do well. Like what did I not do well last year? What was the big difference? Yeah, kids change. We didn't, we had graduated a player of the year, a two-time player of the year before that, first time in school history. And obviously that's a big hit, but I still looked at it as like, okay, yeah. And I loved Keaton Beck to death, but I didn't do my best work last year. And so I really went into the offseason like, what can we do to get better? Well, our defending was not up to par. And we were able to, lucky enough to get an assistant coach in this year, Lindsay Poulin, who came over from our girls program. We kind of lucked out. She was going to go coach at Plymouth State. And we sort of lucked out that things sort of worked out for her to come coach with us. So, first addressing our defense and, understanding with high school kids, it's you could be dealing with any given thing on any given day, where their moods are at is defense travels and just getting more sound on the defensive end and in embracing wanting to play defense. I challenged a lot of our sophomores last year and we use the term front runner a lot. Like, don't be a front runner. You're out there when things are going well and your shots are falling. You're the most energetic, happy kid in the gym. But then one thing doesn't go your way and you're getting beat on the defensive side of things. You're getting beat backdoor. You're not in help side. You're not doing the things we need to do. So we've really been focusing on that. So for me, it starts with me. What can I do better? Because I certainly, I don't want to go through another season without making the playoffs, and that's what we were trying to address. Second thing was just reestablishing our commitment to Sachem basketball. You take some things for granted, I think, as players or coaches when you have, some of these players that we had in our really good run, like a Keaton Beck or a Caden Roberts or Carson Tucker or Logan Sanchez. And, when you're able to ride a group of kids for 2 or 3 years, it's almost, you get used to it. And then you kind of forget like, oh no, they were sophomores once too, and we had to build them up. So just getting back to that learning mentality. But if I had to target one thing, it would just be, embracing the dog mentality and grinding a little bit more. We were, too much of a front running team last year. When the going was good, it was good. When it was bad, it was bad. And our body language showed that. So we want to combat that by being much better on the defensive end of the floor, regardless of if shots are falling or not.
Okay. So your first couple of games of the season were really tight games at Sauhegan and home against Lebanon, 2 losses, but very, very close games. Just walk us through and give us a brief summary of each of those.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this year, more than any in the past, at least, to my recent recollection, but I guess I'm starting to get up there, so the memories blend together. This preseason was a crunch. We lost a couple days to weather. So we rolled into that first game at Sauhegan, and I sat with Coach Pierce, who, I love to death. One of the best coaches I've had the pleasure of coaching against. And we're just looking at each other like, I don't really know what I have. And he's like, I don't know what I have. We lost these 2 days to snow. We did a scrimmage, but, I just left the scrimmage frustrated because we weren't doing what we needed to do. I think in actuality, we got like 6 days of practice. And then we played. So, Sauhegan, it was a feeling out process. We were both teams were trying to figure out, who do we have? Who do we want in the game? Who can't be in the game? What's going on? And, it was just, a good, ugly, emphasis on ugly, first game of the season, back and forth battle between 2 teams. They always kind of had a lead. We were able to get back in it late. And then in overtime, they were just able to execute and, we weren't, foul trouble had some guys out and, Sauhegan, really kind of made us pay down the stretch with their execution. And, Weston Hickman is very, very good. We just struggled there. And then, fast forward a couple of days to Leb, and it was almost, a deja vu experience of like, oh no. And I don't know if I've ever had a season start with 2 overtime games. But, and credit to Leb, they traveled, they came here and beat us. That game was frustrating because we had opportunities to at least try and close the game out, and we didn't give ourselves a chance. We took some tough shots, with 4 or 5 point leads, with, under 40 seconds left. We really want to hold the ball, get to the free throw line. Just did some things that, we've been working on cleaning up in the late game scenarios. But, What our team showed us, and the coaching staff I have is the first thing they said. I've been so lucky to have, Ray Sleeper with me since I started this, who's, just sort of the Swami guru and old guy on the staff to keep the younger guys in check. And a former point guard of mine as an assistant, Christian Gaspa. And then, like I said, Coach Poulin coming over. We looked at each other after those two games and be like, you know what? We're not having to coach effort and heart. These kids are laying it on the line. We're not playing the smartest basketball right now, but they're representing Laconia well. And that's really the big picture for us is, are we laying it all on the line, leaving it on the court? And, sometimes the scoreboard rewards you, sometimes it doesn't. So hopefully we've cleaned up the dumb mistakes, though.
All righty. Now moving on to a game that you probably are more excited to talk about, Merrimack Valley. You got a close win in that one, 46-44. Just walk us through that.
I mean, yes and no. We were sitting in the fourth quarter, and I'm just looking at them like, is it possible that we have three games to start the season in overtime? I mean, there's been seasons I've coached where I don't think we've had an overtime game. So yeah, first three games all be tight. What I was pumped about is, we got down. I shouldn't say we got down, but we had a stretch. We were up, and we were playing pretty well. And it was sort of the example. And the kids get mad at me. Well, I mean, they're high school kids, so they're going to get mad at the coach once in a while. But I get hung up on something. And there was a play in that game where, for whatever reason, we thought it's just a throwaway, like ball went out of bounds, blah, blah, blah. For some reason, our point guard went to inbound it on a sideline out of bounds, and we didn't get the ball over half court for the next minute and a half. It was just like turnover after turnover. They hit a bunch of threes. Next thing you know, we're in a close game. What I loved about that game is we didn't fold when they put in a run. I mean, MV, I think, had a 9 or a 12-0 run in like a 2-minute stretch in the third quarter of that game, early fourth quarter. And the kids just they looked around like, all right, yeah, but we built a lead and we've been doing things like, let's get back to that. So the maturity started to kick in and, finally started to look like a basketball team to me. Like I was saying earlier, super rushed and cramped preseason. And that could just be for me. Maybe I didn't handle it the best. But we finally started to look like a basketball team in that game. And we were executing down the stretch and, making the plays that we needed to while also still having, heart and playing with a lot of heart and bravado. So was definitely pumped. And MV is going to be, Coach O'Brien does a tremendous job with them. They got a couple guys dinged up. They're going to be a very tough team to play. We were lucky to get them on the night that we got them. And, we played particularly well, but I think especially where we're at in our division, every night's going to be a battle with those types of teams. So we look forward to it.
Okay, and then you got the holiday tournament coming up here. So just touch on that for a minute.
Yeah, so we play over at Guilford High School in the Lakes Region Holiday Tournament. I don't know how many years it is for Laconia in there. It's close to 20, if not more. But for me, every year I've been a head coach, so I think this will be the 14th there. Love the tournament. Guilford does a good job hosting it. It's easy for us. It's a quick commute, so I also like that. Over the holiday break allows us to spend a little more time with family. But it also gives us an opportunity. Like, again, we're not in that division this year. Next year we're in Division 3. But it's, those Lakes region rivalries and these schools where, us, Guilford, Winnisquam, these kids have grown up playing together and against each other. So it's fun around the holidays for them to get to go and play. And I think we played 3 games, so we have a hunch on some things. Now we can try stuff out in the holiday tournament. We obviously want to go there and win. That's our goal, but it gives you an opportunity as a coach to try different lineups, try out that press you've been working on, try out a different zone, try out a new inbounds play, just try things out. And all we'll say to the kids is just, you got to go 100%. The worst decision's indecision. So whatever we're doing, just be decisive in it. And, we'll figure it out from there. So we're looking forward to it. We open up with Newfound tomorrow, who, Kurt does a great job there. They've been in our summer league the last few years. He's really building them up. So we expect a battle when we play them tomorrow at, I think, 1:00.
All right. So that's coming up. So that'll be fun. And then also, you got the rest of the schedule coming up, and you're going to have some tough games. You're playing a really good Pembroke team and a really good Bow team, two good coaches, Coach Silly and Coach Saucier. Obviously, those will be home games, but those are some challenging teams. So hopefully you guys will be able to put up a good fight in that, and they'll be entertaining games to watch. Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're getting old. Coach Saucier has been kicking my butt since I don't know, probably like 2012, and Coach Silly probably in the same realm. Their wins against me versus my wins against them, it's not a record I want to look at. But much respect to both of them. Great coaches. When Sauce came to D3 last year, D2 last year from Conan, it's always it's just good to see familiar faces catch up with people. I've stolen more from those guys, whether it's an inbounds play or, a saying or whatever. Like, I'm the ultimate thief, and those guys got good ones. I love to steal anything I can from them. But I don't look at them any different than like whomever we're playing. Like, our role in this division this year is like every single day we're playing the best team we're going to play that day. Bo is tremendous. They got some great size. Coach Silly, in Pembroke, obviously know him very well from Belmont Franklin before that. And, Pembroke has a Player of the Year candidate coming off a state championship. They no doubt loaded with studs. But for us, our mentality is just, is every game is we're playing. We got to be the best version of ourselves that we can be. And, we're trying to just figure out like exactly what Laconia basketball looks like over vacation. And that's always what's the right word? It's going to sound corny, but like, it's an organic process. Like, sometimes you know what you got and like, this is what we're doing. We're still trying to figure out like what's the exact best place to have everybody. How do we want to exactly attack teams? What's our style of play going to be? And hopefully we sort that out over vacation. But I mean, you're not kidding. Our stretch back from vacation is tough, but you also hit the nail on the head too. Is we get to be at home. We love playing in Laconia. Our fans tend to do a good job and turn out for us and support us in Laconia. And it's always nice not to have to go down to Bow or Pembroke or wherever it may be. But I know those are two that we got coming up after vacation, as well as Kingswood. January 9th, I think Kingswood is a big game for us. They got a Player of the Year candidate. And they've just been playing tremendous. And Coach Farrager does a great job with them as well. So, there's no days off in Division II. There's no days off in any division, the level of coaching and playing. So we're just excited for the opportunities.
Any names you want to highlight on your current roster, kind of people to watch out for, stuff you're expecting to see from those guys, and not only this season, but potentially next season as well?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a really, really, really big step that's been taken by these guys from last year, as far as just commitment, their growth mentally, what it's going to take, and that starts first and foremost with one of our captains, Carter Jones. Carter's was the quarterback of the football team again. Helping to get Laconia back to a state title game in football, which is just huge for this community. Carter's just rock solid kid. When he walks the halls at Laconia High School, like, you look at him like that's a kid you want to try and emulate. He's a good role model for the younger guys, works his butt off, good communicator, very, very smart. And then, we just have a cast of juniors that they're going to play hard day in and day out. And one day, one kid might have 15, 20. The next day, it might be another one. But, our other captain that has really stepped up this year is Kyle Cameron. I think Kyle's leading us in scoring right now. But Kyle's gotten better on the defensive end. He's really gotten better rebounding and taking it to the basket aggressively. It's been one of the things we're trying to work on is, not avoiding contact around the rim, but welcoming it. And Kyle is working as hard as anyone at doing that. And then, we have Sean O'Sullivan, who just is like a Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades, physical, tough, hard-nosed kid, just goes and cleans up the garbage around the basket for us. And, we're expecting big things from our guard play. Wadi Manaya has been really good defensively for us in the backcourt. And Brendan D, who has been really came on strong towards the end of last year as our point guard, has had a great game against Merrimack Valley, shot the ball very well. I think he ended up 15 or 16 points in that game with kind of a bum ankle. So, we're excited about those guys. But it's really, we got kind of 11 guys right now, in our varsity practice that we're locked in and loaded. And on any given day, it could be any kid that needs to get out on the floor. We have two, freshmen that are practicing and playing with the team. One that's playing good minutes, and Keegan Conley, who I think is taking all the steps and has taken the right approach. It's, in my 14, 15 years, there's only been a couple freshmen I've had play meaningful varsity minutes, and he's one of them. So we're excited about that. But really, it's just that team mentality. And again, that starts with our two captains of, we're going to be getting after it. We're going to be dogs. We got to go outwork everybody because we're not going to outskill anybody. And, so far it's made the start to the season exciting and competitive. And, a couple things go the other way, we could be 3-0, but we're also not dumb. We know a couple things go the other way, we could be 0-3. So you just sort of be grateful for where you're at and the growth that we've shown.
Whether it's like be better against the press, have better zone defense, better shot selection. Can you give me like 2 or 3 bullet points of stuff you guys got to do well with the remaining schedule in order to have a good chance to make it to the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is we got to take care of the basketball. And I think everything I'm going to say, it just comes back to developing and understanding a better sense of the game, better basketball IQ. If we were to go through the last few minutes of our Lebanon game, where we had chances to at least go into a sort of kill situation, kill the clock, get to the free throw line. We didn't take care of the ball. We either took bad shots or made dumb passes. And, so number one is just getting the mentality engaged in the game. Two, rebounding is always going to be a tough thing for us. We're just, I'm a big fan of, kind of the old school mentality of like, there's no perfect drill to work on rebounding. It's a mindset. You need to want to go and get the basketball. And there's plenty we do in practice to work on that, but it starts with your mindset, so we're an undersized team, especially, in this division. So it's got to be rebounding the basketball and toughness, and just continuing to trust being better on the defensive end of the court will pay off for us in the long run. So, yeah, I mean, the 3 things really is just every single day we're just working on the game IQ, whether it's clock situations, shot selection, just IQ will put us in a better situation. Rebounding, because we're a small, scrappy team, so we got to continue to just out-scrap and out-dog people. And shoot, now I forgot what the third thing I said was, but it's that's going to bother me now. It was IQ, rebounding, taking care of the ball. Well, whatever. It'll come back to me. But, it always does boil down to the little things. So I think that's a great question. I mean, teams can run the best stuff on earth, and if your fundamentals are off or your footwork's off or you catch the ball in the wrong spot, it goes out the window. So we're working on those things every day for sure.
When you look around the division D2, is there anything that jumps out as like, wow, this is a lot different from last year, whether it's guard play or it's maybe there's not a Pembroke or a Sanborn that are as top heavy and there's more depth in the division? What's kind of jumping out to you as you look at the other teams?
Boy, that's a great question. I'll say in the film that I've watched, again, we're 3 games in, so I haven't watched or seen everyone. I'm seeing a little more zone defense than I've seen in the past in D2. When we were in D3, you could kind of count on a good handful of teams playing zone, if not more. And we were one of them. We would mix in a lot of different zones and man, and we still are to a degree, but we play more man-to-man principles than anything else now. So that would kind of be one of them. I think we'll see some things shake out. I think early season teams will press a lot and throw different types of presses because teams just are getting up to speed, ourselves included. We try and steal some early by having different presses and things we're trying to do because A team breaking a press in December looks a lot different than a team breaking a press in the middle or end of January. So, there's that. But when I look at the landscape of Division Two, we wouldn't do what we do if we didn't think we could make some noise if we get our teams to buy in. So, I don't think I look at D2, there's no days off. I think every team can beat anybody on any given day. Certainly, I'm old school. I always look at teams and I go, okay, are they going to have the best player on the floor? Are they going to have a better coach in the gym? Or were they the champs last year? So, Pembroke, I think, checks a lot of those boxes. They're going to have the best players and if not players, in the gym on a lot of nights. Have a great coach, and they're defending champs. You brought up Bo. We play Bo. They got great size. They got a great coach, winning pedigree. Hollis Brookline has probably grown a group together better than a lot of teams I've ever even seen him. Coach Kelly, he rolled with that group from when they were freshmen, and now we're seeing the fruits pay off there. Alton is just a force, and then their guard play is tremendous. So they're always. They could get over the hump this year easily. They're super talented. Pelham, it's just every year. Whatever's in the water at the Snake Pit, they were our Achilles heel a few years ago, and they're not on our schedule now, so we won't really see how we can compete with them. But Coach Joe, he does a tremendous job there. Coach Morin every year they just reload. So I don't know that I see a lot changing. There's certainly a little bit of a landscape shift, and I think. When I started in D2, Hollis was one of the powerhouses, but things ebb and flow with schools sometimes. I think Hollis is right back there this year, but I mean, there's just so many teams that are interesting stories, I think, this year, and what their coaches are doing with them and how they're developing as a program. It's fun for me to watch. I obviously root for I root for our success, my success, Laconia's success first, but then I've been doing it, I guess, long enough now. I look at a lot of these other coaches, and I'm just stoked to see them do what they're doing with their level of buy-in. We talk about buy-in. I just look at, scores blow my mind sometimes. I look at it if last week or week before, Hanover goes to Pelham and holds Pelham to 40 points in Pelham, and I'm like, God, how? Boy, Coach Denver, man, getting them to buy into playing defense like that. And I say to our kids, like, hey, we might not get to that, but that's the mentality, right? Like, you go on the road and hold it. Any team, you go on the road and hold them to that is pretty impressive. And then, you see some of the double overtime games around the state. It's exciting. I love high school basketball in New Hampshire, regardless of the division. And, but if you're trying to get me to say who the favorite is, I'll go through all 20 teams right now and tell you why they're all the favorite except us. I mean, they're all good. There's tremendous coaching in this division. You mentioned Sanborn. I mean, they just reloaded with a bunch of young bucks with the same names as the last ones, and it's like, damn, they're going to be right there in the mix as well. Coach does a great job. So top to bottom, I love our division. I think we have great coaching and just great student athletes, and it's a fun thing to be a part of. I'll miss some of those relationships next year when we move down to D3.
All right. So touching on that, do you want to briefly take us through and tell us about next year moving down to D3, what you're expecting?
No, I mean, the same thing. If we play a lot of those D3 teams, they're dogs. I've said it, for the last stretch of years we've been in Division 2, and we're always that bubble school. As far as I can see, as long as I'm in Laconia, we'll always, I think, just be in that weird spot where we fluctuate back and forth every handful of years because of enrollment. But, what I expect out of D3 is what we get out of D2. I mean, high school basketball in New Hampshire, I love it. And these coaches, they give their heart and soul, and they're trying, whether their team was 0 for the year before or undefeated the year before, the effort that the coaches are giving and getting in the gym in the summer, D3 is going to be every bit the challenge, if not harder than D2. And, two of our biggest rivals in the Lakes region are two of the best teams in D3 and, Belmont and Guilford. So, we're excited about that aspect of it, right? So in some ways it feels like we'll be back home just because all the schools around us are Division 3. So we get those natural Lakes region rivalries, which For years, I've talked with my assistants, and one of my longtime assistants, Andy Peranto, who stepped down from hoop but still helps with basketball. Still helps with lacrosse for me. And we've always talked about what would it look like, if we went with conferences in New Hampshire instead of the divisions. And we always draw up all these conferences, and you have like the conference tournament at the end. I'm like, man, how awesome would the Lakes Region Conference tournament be? The gym would be packed, like, because whoever it is, like, all great coaches, nothing but respect for their programs. But if we're playing them for any type of trophy, God, their gym would be electric. So I think it's good for us in that regard. But I don't expect much different. Like the level of competition, it's no joke. And, we'll just show up and hopefully we can be the hardest working, team in the gym. That's what we want, what we try and to be every time. And, but we'll definitely, we'll be sad too. I'll miss some of the rivalries and the competition being the little guys in D2. It's, a give and a take for sure.
And then you're also the lacrosse coach as well. Is there anything that goes and transfers between being basketball and lacrosse coach that kind of builds off of each other, or you've learned from a different sport to coach into the other sport?
Yeah, that's a great question too. And people don't believe this. I say it all the time, and they look at me like my dad included, watch me play high school lacrosse and basketball. Granted, not very well at all. I wasn't very good at either of them. But I say to my dad all the time is they're the same sport. People have no idea how similar they are because they can't get past in lacrosse the physicality of the game, which sure, that's different. Schematically, X's and O's wise, transition lacrosse, half field, it's all the same. It's just a 6-person offense. So, all that's different on offense is I get 6 guys in lacrosse and I can play one of the guys behind the net, which, we call X. And other than that, the flow's the same. They're just 6-person basketball offense. There's 2-man, wing pick and rolls. There's motion style offenses. There's, just again, all different kinds of things you can get into, but it's the same idea. Back doors are the same. Cuts to how we run in transition. Same exact principles. We use a lot of the same terminology. And then you flip that to defense. It's the same. We literally use the same terminology in lacrosse as we do basketball. Help side, we call the wall, get into the wall. So one of the things that I really like is, a lot of our kids play basketball and lacrosse. The basketball kids translate. They instantly understand the terminology we're using. Now, there's an added skill set, passing and catching, using the stick and the physicality. That's a different step. There's no doubt. But X's and O's wise, they're going to understand 70% of the game right off the bat because it's very similar. It's just in a bigger, more open space. As far as like the art of coaching, or art it sounds pretentious, but it's similar. But you also see a little bit of a different pep. Like basketball, you get to the end of the season and it's February and God willing, hopefully you have a good season going. I'm knocking on my desk. You're getting ready for playoff games. There's still that little like mopiness because we get up for school and it's dark. We're in the gym and it's dark. We go home and it's dark. So when we get to lacrosse and you're outside and, we're so lucky in Laconia, we have a beautiful stadium facility. The city is phenomenal and the school district's phenomenal taking care of us. And we get outside and you just see a pep in the kid's step of like, oh, we're outside. We get the sun. We get going. So there's certainly little like dynamics that you got to, manage as a coach and how you're going to handle it. And, you don't have to worry about being cold at most basketball practices, but X's and O's, the games are so similar. And if you know basketball and you really go watch a lacrosse game, you'll start to see be like, oh, it's very similar. Now, the other 30%, the physicality, the brutality, et cetera, that's certainly different, but schematically very same. So
that's fascinating to hear you say that. And then finally, the last thing I want to get to is just your message for my audience. You probably have kids from your school watching this, parents as well, and people from around the state, hopefully. So just let them know what you want them to know about Laconia basketball, yourself, and the program.
I wasn't ready for that one. Well, that's a tough one. I mean, it's nothing It's nothing I want them to know. I hope if they watch Laconia play, um, before all else, they leave the gym and be like, boy, those are tough kids that played hard. They played hard for their school. I talk about it with our guys all the time. I've been in this district basically since I got out of college. I had a few coaching stops before in Sanborn and Brattleboro, Vermont, et cetera, but went to Exeter High School. And, the thing about Laconia that I love is just the tradition and uh, of being the tradition of being a sachem. And I say to the guys all the time, like, you get to play basketball for Laconia. You get to play lacrosse for Laconia. You get to do these things because our city and our school values you going to represent us. Like that's first and foremost. We're ambassadors for this community. We're ambassadors for this school. In Laconia, it's a hard-nosed blue-collar community. Like we work hard here. We bust our butt. There's going to be plays where we're physical. There's going to be plays, but we want to do all that the right way. And we knock someone down, help them up, and we're going to play tough. We're going to play hard. We're going to play with an edge. But the big picture is I want people to leave the gym or leave the field being like, what, they're a good representation of their town, of their city, of their school. Because that's the first and foremost. Win games, lose games. That's number one, what we're here to do. Number one, it's what my job is as a coach, is make sure when these guys go out there, they're representing Laconia well. And hopefully I can get them to do that while also being decent at basketball or lacrosse. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I hope, but we got to earn that, right? Just because I say it, that's lip service. Like, we got to earn that. If we want people to leave the gym being like, damn, that Laconia team played hard. Even if they were down 10, they dove all over the place. We got to go do that. It's not because I'm saying, hey, that's who we are. Either we are or we aren't. And hopefully, I know the boys would love to make me look stupid. They would get a kick out of that. But, hopefully they don't, because I think this group we have this year has embraced that. And they've really embraced that Laconia mentality, Laconia heart and pride. And everything else will work itself out. We'll get smarter. We'll get more skilled. We'll get all those things, but we can never not be Laconia. We got to play with our heart on our sleeves and go get after it. So that's my hope. Hopefully they would leave the gym or the field with that. Like, hey, win or lose, that Laconia team, they fought the whole game, and I'd be proud if I was their parents. So that's what we shoot for. Doesn't always work out for sure, but that's what we're shooting for.
Thanks so much for coming on the show today, Coach. Appreciate you.
No, Drew, appreciate you. It's great. We need these avenues, and I think it's just awesome to highlight, what's going on around New Hampshire, and your work is tremendous. I see your Hopkinton Hawk stuff there in the background, which it makes I didn't get any Hopkinton bigs in there. Arch rivals in lacrosse. Coach Blue does such a great job over there. Another coach has my number more than I have his, that's for sure. But, we love that rivalry with Hopkins. Another team that just does things, works their butt off as the little dogs. And, I envy a lot of that from them as well. So, but again, thank you for doing this. I think it's a great opportunity to get on and talk to you. And, hopefully I didn't bore everybody to death.
Please subscribe to the channel and like the video to help me expand my local sports coverage. Thank you.